Son? All right. Well, turns out it's quite a good thing that Peter put me last, because I didn't finish my slides till about 7 this morning, and my demo worked about 20 minutes ago. And it still only works half the time, so we'll see. But my topic is using Node as the backend for JavaScript-powered mobile apps for end-to-end JavaScript mobile development, which seems like a really cool thing to do. And I'm not going to play the whole song, but I got a little clip here. Let's see if it works. See if you guys recognize this sound. So it like starts out like a cell phone, but it's music. It's cool. But yeah, we won't play the whole thing. Okay. So, oh man, it's clipping off the left side. So, Node is simple but different. And this picture is just something down the street. I just thought it was cool. Those chairs and the cobblestones are not something I'm used to seeing. I'm from America. It's quite different there. And one of the things that attracted me to Node, because I was looking at various server-side JavaScripts, I was tired of my PHP day job, is that Ryan, the creator, just took this really simple approach of, let's do something different, but do it right. And as Malta was talking about, it's the non-blocking, non-threaded approach as opposed to threaded blocking I/O. So to make a mobile platform that takes advantage of this, we need a few things. So we need a simple interface. We need lightweight code. We don't want something that takes 100 megs of Java code and half an hour to compile. We want something that's light, something easy to work with. We'll have fun with it. We need networked data, of course, because in the real world, what good is your phone when you don't have internet? You notice most of the apps on there don't work. And the same thing with making mobile apps. We probably want some sort of data source to communicate. Probably real-time would be better. And so we got real-time data. And then this one I like a lot, free deployment. If anyone's ever had to go through the ordeal of getting their app in the Apple Store or have it rejected, knows that this is really frustrating. But if you make web-based apps, like we've been talking about all day, they look almost just like native apps, except you can deploy them at will. And so I think that's a great thing of this. Was it too loud? Okay, is that better? Okay, perfect. And then open workflow. One of the things that I never liked about IDEs is they constrain you to a certain way of working. I mean, some are a little more configurable, but I like a framework where you don't need an IDE to use it, where you can just open up Vim or a text editor and just start typing away and have a working program. I don't like being dependent on tools. I mean, tools are good, but it's better if you don't need the tools. That way you can be flexible. And so some of the solutions for the simple interface, we got HTML, SVG, CSS, and they're usually pretty up to date when you're talking about mobile devices. We got JavaScript, which is a nice, lightweight language. It's simple, very simple, doesn't even have classes built in. For network data, we got HTTP. It's a wonderful protocol for communicating with the whole world. It's very standard. Real-time data, there's the pub/sub pattern, which I'll show is very easy to implement in Node. So you can publish and subscribe to events and easily push data to various devices as long as they're connected. And we got browser-based apps, and then open workflow, well, it's just text. You can use pretty much anything to edit text. So for the server side, I recently started a new job a couple weeks ago, and they let me work on this new project that we're open sourcing called Connect. I've done a lot of frameworks for the Node community. And so what Connect is it's essentially a middleware framework. If anyone's done Ruby and has used Rack, it's kind of a similar type thing. But it lets us create modular Node libraries that can just layer together and handle the HTTP stack. So here's one of my critters, and this is just like Japanese Legos. These are actually called, I don't even know how you pronounce them. It's LAQ. Does anyone know how you pronounce these? They're really popular in Japan. But they're little toys you just snap together like Legos. But I like them because they're different, but they're simple. There's nothing more than triangles and squares, and you just make all the craziest things out of them. So let's look at an example of some Node code. So you get the connect library, you say create server. It works. It follows the API that Node has existing for HTTP server, but with one difference. In Node, create server would take a callback function that gets called for every request, and then you handle everything. You handle your routing, you handle your cookies, you handle everything by hand. This, you just give it a stack of filters, which are various modules, and the request will filter down the chain and bounce back up the chain and do all sorts of cool stuff. And we got my little bird here saying, and it's easy too. These things are really easy to write. So we'll look at a couple examples of these. So, well, let me try this. This one's called method override, and this was an idiom that the Rails guys made popular. Sometimes browsers don't support the full HTTP methods. Like you'll get and post, but you often won't get put or delete or some of the stranger things. I don't know if it's even such a big deal anymore, but just in case, here's a simple middleware. And all middlewares have two things. They have setup and handle, and setup's even optional. So we got a default underscore method, so any parameters that have method, you can put in your form method equals put, and do a post request, and this will translate it on the server side as if it was a put request. So your server code never knows the difference. And all we got to do is just go over the keys in the body. If method's in there, then uppercase it. We are missing something. No, that's it. Request method. I'm looking at the next slide. I'm very confused. So yeah, Node just has request methods. You just override it with string. This one's very simple. It's very synchronous. Not everything in Node is synchronous. So let's look at another one. This one's a response time middleware. So what this does is when the request comes in the chain, so handle is called every time as it goes in the chain, we're going to create a new date, just a timestamp. And then we're going to proxy the write head function. We're going to store the old function, because remember, functions in JavaScript are really just functions. They're not really bound to anything unless you use closures. So we can just store that aside, overwrite write head, and the new write head will insert this header into the stream, which has the new date minus the old date milliseconds, and then we replace the old write head on top of where it goes, and then call the old one. So it's a way of kind of injecting in the stream a function call. So let's wrap in a function. Very common idiom I've been using in this. So it's really easy, right? We can write tons of these middleware, right? Well, actually, it's not always easy. One of the most requested ones on the node list lately has been something that serves static files. This is something you take for granted when you have a server like Apache in front of your app. It just serves the static files for you, and it's really good at it. And Nginx is even better at it. But as we saw from yesterday, Node can keep up with Nginx if you do the static serving right. And if it's integrated into your stack, you can do smarter things with it. So I made a static middleware. Well, code, let's see, we got, well, that's a fire, so there's a piece of it. There's another piece of it. There's some more code. There's some more. That one doesn't catch on fire. Oh, there's some more code. Yes, oh, there's one more. Okay. So the bulk of this green stuff is a MIME type database, but there's a bunch of other code in there. So that one's not so easy to write. But you're in luck. A bunch of them come pre-built in. A lot of these hard things have been done for you. So we got authentication, authorization, body decoder. The body in Node is a string. This will buffer it, look up the content type, decode it for you. Does a lot of cool work for you. And we got cache, conditional get will do 3 or 4 responses. I mean, just lots of little helpful things. And there's also data providers, things that actually provide responses, not just modify them. So the static file server, there's a REST endpoint where you just point it to a model object and it'll do all the get, put, delete for you, very, very RESTful. Or a router thing, which is a port of my Node router. Has anyone here used my Node router library?